two, one. Here we are. We're live, baby. We're live here with my good friend, one of my best friends, Charles Orosz.
Hello, everybody.
Charles
How's it going?
Vanelli.
Hope you're having a good day.
Yes,
Charles Vanelli,
sir.
that is myself.
Yeah, and me and Charles go way back. It's been a very, very, very. Hello. Yes. Okay. I was just testing my mic. It's been a very long time I've known him, and I'm excited to dive into this one. Without further ado, we're going to talk about a bunch of different things. We're going to talk about finance. We're going to talk about the real estate market, the politics that's going on in Canada for the conservative leadership, and we're going to talk about these things, and it's going to be great. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The Shayan Show. Now, before we get into all the news and stuff, Charles, I kind of want to just talk about our relationship together. So for a little
Yeah.
overview for the people. So you've been a good friend of mine for almost 10 years now.
Man. Yeah.
We both.
Well, what year did you go to St.
St.
George's?
George's. I came in 2012, just right.
Wow.
I came from Vancouver.
It's been 10 years. Yeah.
It's been 10 years.
10
yeah.
years.
We weren't fans of each other at first. Well, I didn't really care. I was friends with everybody, but you thought I was a dick.
Yeah.
Right?
Shan, you had a reputation. You had a reputation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you also had a reputation of, you're Italian, right? Everybody thought you were a criminal, and all the teachers thought you're, they suspected you of stealing things, right?
They did. And they accused me falsely most of the time.
Falsely.
Of stealing things. Yeah. Most of the time.
Falsely.
Yeah. Falsely.
Okay. But yeah, man. It was a pretty, I don't know. What do you think of that school, man?
It's a very progressive school. It's a place where they really sheltered kids, kept them in a bubble, and for the price they paid, obviously it was like a free ride through high school. A lot of people, we didn't really have to try very hard or work or anything. It was a glorified, daycare. It was a high school daycare, and we had good times and everything. But stepping out into the real world after that was definitely a little bit challenging, I think, for a lot of people. But for what it was, I enjoyed it. Would I send my kids there? Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't.
I don't know. Look, we didn't turn out so bad, right?
We did not. No.
It was definitely a very sheltered school, but we got to meet you, Liam. Liam, he's also, he has his own podcast too. Thanks to him, I have this podcast. And I feel like without that area, we wouldn't have met each other. Imagine now that you went to some bum ass school, public school, might not have been the same guy.
You're absolutely right. And that's why I can't say it was a bad school. I was fortunate enough to meet you guys and meet some good people. But as for the school itself, if you took that aside, it's a no-go for me, it's a no-go. And it's frankly, it's too expensive to justify, So I don't know. When I have kids, I'll have to
you'll send your kid down to the School of Sopranos, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that would have been a better education if we just watched Sopranos every class, every season.
Yeah, man. We'll learn some business.
Exactly.
Tough business.
And some psychology in there too.
Yeah. Some psychology.
Also a little bit of some slang there. You're breaking my balls.
Yeah, some gabagool.
Some gabagool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, we've kind of gone our own paths here. You went to we've known each other for a long time, and we went to there's something called CEGEP after high school, and you and I, we went to the same CEGEP, so I feel like we got really close within those years. We also had to endure some painful friendships in high school. I don't know. But there was a lot of fun there. But now you're in finance. At first
now
you
I'm
wanted
in finance.
Yeah. So you're busting your ass a little bit in there, right?
Yeah, it's definitely competitive, I guess it's similar to what you're going through in the entertainment industry. It's competitive, right? It's It's dog eat dog, and if you don't perform, if you're not better than the other guy, well, you'll get booted, and that's just what it is, and it's understandable, right? Like you don't want to. Nobody wants to hire someone that's mediocre. You want the best, especially when you're dealing with people's money, especially when you're dealing with hundreds and thousands and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Like it's not a joke, and you got to know your shit. You gotta be confident, and yeah, you gotta be resourceful too. The industry's changed a lot. I've gotten the chance to learn a lot already, and I'm only on my third week of my internship, but the industry's changed a lot, and I think for the better, and it's something that definitely interests me. So I'm going with it.
Yeah.
23 years old, and that's just what it is, man. It's a grind. College is a grind. Everyone that's on this knows that, I'm sure.
So right now, just to tell the viewers, you're working at a national bank, right?
Yeah. So right now I'm until August, so just for the summer, I'm interning in wealth management at National Bank, which is a Canadian bank. It's a chartered bank in Canada. For those of you that don't live here, it's the fifth biggest bank in Canada. 140 billion on assets under management, and so far it's going super good. We do everything from risk assessment for clients' portfolios, to investment planning, kind of like helping them every step of the way. Obviously, I don't actually touch any of that directly. You do need a CFA to handle people's money and to give investment advice. So logically, I don't have that yet. I probably plan on doing that, but for the time being, I don't. I help the advisors who move the money for the clients. So really, really good experience. Everyone there is super, super friendly, knowledgeable. I've gotten to meet everyone. It's a flat hierarchy. So it's kind of, it's really different from what you see in I guess like movies and mainstream kind of stories, right? Like it's not like, oh, there's this one big guy at the bank and nobody could talk to him, and if you're not that guy, pal, you can go up to anyone. I've gotten to be pretty close with the president of the bank, and the guy's 34 years old. He's a genius, frankly, and I get to meet the VP of National Bank Investments, Capital Markets, right? Like, and these are all people who have, they have the same history that I do. Most of them went to the same school that I did, studied in the same thing, and it's very encouraging.
You said you met the president of the bank, you said?
Yeah. The president of the bank at National his name is Jonathan Durocher. That is Quebecois for everyone out there who doesn't speak French. He's a French kid, frankly, 34 years old. And he climbed the ranks to the president of the bank. Everyone looks up to him. When he walks in, everyone shuts up, listens to him, but he's very well respected, and he's not tough. You can grab a beer with this guy, I think we're all going to grab a beer with that guy. We're 14 interns, and we're organizing a 5 à 7, or for the English folks, it's a happy hour event, and basically, we're all just gonna go for drinks, kind of chat a little bit, and get to know a little bit about his life and what he does and everything like that. So it's very, very interesting. You meet characters at this bank who are, these aren't stupid people, but they're also not mean people. They're not like overly serious, and you don't really enjoy being with them. They're very, very nice. They're down to earth, but they know what they're talking about, and I really like that culture. So, yeah.
And so
to sum that up, it's going well.
That's great. So are you working at a physical branch, or are you working at the headquarters? What is that?
So, yeah, I'm working at the headquarters. The headquarters is at the Sun Life building in downtown Montreal. Really beautiful building. And that's the headquarters. It's hybrid. So essentially I could work from home or I can go in. It's kind of up to me. Today I chose to work from home. Most of the days, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and sometimes Friday, I go in. I get to see everyone and everything, and it's kind of better, right? My goal is really just to network more than actual, work. That's not to say I don't work, but the goal of the internship is really to network and to get to know people. And so the best way to do that, obviously, is you can't really do that as well from the laptop at your house. So I try to go in as often as I can.
100%. Yeah. And so in terms of, that's great, because networking, it determines like where you are going to be in the future, because it really depends on the group you surround yourself with. And obviously me and your older friends, like we're always going to be there, but we can't deny the reality that there's always, there's some extra seats at the table, there's always going to be
Yeah,
people there that can improve your life and grow, and
absolutely. Yeah,
I'm happy
absolutely.
for you, man, because a lot
Thank you.
of people could get stuck in stagnation, and we don't want to progress, or we get stuck in a friendship that doesn't really benefit us. And I mean, like, it's not, friendships aren't just a benefit for yourself, but
No, I see what you're saying.
you're
Yeah.
supposed to feel good and feel like, oh, this guy, like, I mean, I don't want to get all philosophical here, but the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, he has a chapter in one of his books, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, where he says a friend should be someone that you're trying to compete with, but you guys respect each other. In terms of, like, not compete with, it's like that person should be, you should always be like at war with your friend, because wherever he is in life, you kind of want to fight to be, like, not doing better,
Mm.
but at the
No, I
same
see.
level. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, I think that's where they the term like friendly competition like
Yeah.
kind of comes from, right? Like you're not competing. Like it's not like if he wins, I lose. There's
Yeah.
nothing like that.
And you're just not going to relate with someone who's like slacking off, and you come there, the
Yeah,
house is a pigsty,
yeah.
and we're allowed to be
No,
in
I
different
totally agree.
industries.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so what do you do? Like, what's your day to day so far? I know you might just be training right now, but what are you kind of getting into?
So, oh, sorry about that. My camera moved. So, on a day to day, basically, yeah, it's only my third week. I've taken a lot of meetings with like people around the bank and everything. I kind of get to know them. I go on like coffee chats with them. But as of like really like my work, what I do, I basically go through clients' files. We have a system where basically we could see their whole portfolios, right? Like everything that they own. We go ahead and pull all that information, right? Like we have all these documents. Like I'm talking like 200 pages of documents from government agencies, insurance companies, Manulife, and Revenu Quebec, like from the government. We take all of the client's information, condense it together. I'm saying we, it's me, and take it all together, throw it into an Excel file, and I won't get into the specifics of what of that, but
Mm-hmm.
basically put it into the Excel file and basically lay out everything that they own, every investment they have, and how much they make, what the risk profile is. Like some clients have like a higher risk tolerance, and that's usually correlated with their age. A lot of people that are retired have a pretty low risk tolerance, right? Like I'm not about to start investing in all this crazy stuff. Like I have 2 million in the bank. Like just get me into bonds. I'll be fine. That's basically what you're dealing with. It's also cool because you get to map out what income they make. And a lot of these retired people whose files I've been working on, they own businesses, like plural. They hold their money in trust. They hold 3, 4, 5 plus, properties, stocks, bonds, foreign, emerging markets. It's very diverse, and it's not something that I, at the time, that my portfolio looks nothing like that. But it's like, wow, to really see that and to map it out, it's like, it's cool. It's very interesting. It's very, very
That's
interesting.
awesome. That's like right
Yeah,
up your alley. Yeah.
it's right up my alley, exactly. And so just like going back to what I was saying earlier, it's like this big Excel file that I make, like it takes a few hours, but once it's done, the advisor who works with that client, they get this Excel file, they see exactly what they own, what their risk profile is, et cetera, et cetera. And so then they know exactly what the client needs. They can ask them questions regarding their file. Sometimes I write down questions for them, like, hey, what do you plan to do after you retire? Some people say, oh, I want to sell my house after 10 years. What do you plan to do with that money? That's like $800,000 of cash. Like, you got to have a plan for it. And so that's kind of what I set up for the advisor, and then it's up to the advisor to really just pass that on to the client themselves.
So your
Yeah,
job is almost like the equivalent of like, like what Liam did for Sean Hannity. Like you get all the notes, like major points, and then Sean Hannity goes up there and then, he starts reading like the
yeah.
big points it's
Well
almost like
said.
a cheat sheet.
That's exactly it. Yeah, that's a good way of thinking about it. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. I mean, for you though, for you guys, I mean, obviously, for the few listeners I have right now, you guys obviously know I'm a simp for Tesla and Elon Musk, and the man who's responsible for the simp insinuation is Charles right here. He's actually the guy who got me to open my first Quest Trade account investing.
Yeah.
I followed a lot of his advice about which stocks to choose, and I mean, some of them good. And I mean, some of them I lost money, but that's the name of
Some
the
of
game.
them still bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in today's market. Yeah.
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 Don't invest in vegan stocks. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so in terms of that, just one last question. Do you work in English or French?
I work entirely in French.
Entirely in French. How crazy
Everything
is
is
that?
French.
I mean, and you went to school your entire life in English.
Yeah.
For most part.
Well, no.
You
I
were in
went
the
to
higher
English high
French.
school.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
mean. So that's kind of like it's different though to go back into it entirely,
Yeah,
in
man.
French.
It was intimidating, because like I said, there's 14 other interns. 3 of them
Yeah.
are like they don't live in Montreal. 2 of them live in Toronto. 1 lives in Medicine Hat, Alberta.
Oh wow.
Kind of in the middle of nowhere,
Oh
It's
my
kind of
God.
funny.
Yeah.
It's like a little town. It's like Martintown,
And they have to speak
And
French, these guys?
no, they don't speak a lick of French.
Oh
And
shit.
so, for them, whenever we take meetings with executives and stuff like that, they're all French, But
Mhm.
the idea at the bank at National, and I'm sure we're gonna get into this,
Uh-huh.
business in Canada, even though we're headquartered in Quebec, needs to be bilingual. It needs to, right? Because it's not everyone in Canada that speaks French. Far from it, actually.
Mhm.
So a lot of the people higher up, they do speak English. They definitely have that Quebecois accent and everything. But everyone is Quebecois, right? Jonathan Durocher. That's the most Quebecois name you can find.
Do
He's
you
the
think you
president of
as
the
an
bank.
Italian could be the CEO one day, or the president one day?
I'd have to rebrand.
Yeah.
Make an
I
Italian.
mean, look, Fauci did it, right?
But I don't know. That's a good question. Good
Yeah.
question.
I mean, hopefully. I mean,
Yeah.
just kind of jumping off of that. I think it's a good approach to be more bilingual. I think it's a better approach to see it both ways of the street. And obviously, Quebec is a French-dominated place, but now we have this new regulation that they want to pass. What's the bill called exactly, Charles?
I don't know the bill exactly.
Bill 96, I think, or bill something like that.
I think you're right. Yeah, 96.
Anyways, I'm going to read off some of the things that they want to pass. Basically, Montreal, Quebec, they want to. There's a side called the Separatists. They want to basically bring Quebec back to just French, no more English. They want to basically kill off any sort of English and make it completely and entirely French. And the reason for that is because they have a strong sense of nationalism, which is not a bad thing, but it's also you want to make it an inclusive society, which I don't believe Quebec and the government is. I mean, the government, what they want to propose with this bill is trying to do, because the reason why Toronto is what it is today is because Quebec, because we in 99, I believe, right? The separatists came in. We're 95. They had a referendum, and they said we want to make Quebec separate from Canada. So these English guys, they got scared. They flew off to Toronto. They built, what's now the biggest city in Canada, and that was our loss. I mean, obviously, there's some positive aspects to it because Montreal is not as commercial and capitalist. And it feels like a cozy place, but now we're facing this this tyranny again from these goddamn separatists. I'm getting sick of it, quite frankly, and I feel like we're entering like a Nazi police state. That's kind of what Quebec feels like. Look, I'm gonna go off here. Quebec feels like it's been a Nazi police state for the past 2 years with COVID-19. I mean, they're the only mask mandates. In the last. Only like a week ago, they lifted the mask mandates, which is, in my opinion, insane. It's fucking insane. But anyways, we're going to talk about this.
That. Yeah.
And yeah, Charles, you're telling me there's a quiet revolution going on, right?
Yeah, there was like a kind of like this quiet revolution, if you can call it that, where like for the I mean, look, to put things into on the Saturday, today's Monday, so Saturday, um, finally after 3 years or something, mask mandates were done. Until then, right, the months leading up to that, there was this quiet revolution that kind of went down, and nobody really talked about it. But people basically were like, "Oh, fuck the masks. Actually, we're done, and the government can come in and they can impose them." But nobody wanted it. Literally, nobody wanted it. And so, in stores, most people who owned restaurants or bars would just let you in. Just say, "Come on in. It doesn't matter. Forget the mask," and nobody would really say anything. Nobody's gonna call the police on you. Frankly, even the police wouldn't really care. That was like the general vibe, is that like there was this rule, but at the end of the day, nobody really cared. Nobody really enforced it. And so, yeah, but you still had quite a bit of people that would wear the mask. Um, but yeah, it was clear that people were done,
Mm-hmm.
and
And now it's like we got
yeah,
this new just when people were starting to relax in Quebec, just when were starting to feel like, okay, we're finally out of the pandemic because Quebec said so, even though the whole world was out of the pandemic except for China, Shanghai. I mean,
yeah.
it's a good thing to compare Quebec to Shanghai, but I mean, unfortunately, I have to under these
Fortunately, we're
circumstances.
there. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, we were now we got this whole new list of bullshit we have to deal with, and there might be a second um I don't know what's it called, migration to Toronto or other cities in Canada because of these new laws they want to impose. But first, before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about Stream Studio. Stream Studio is the perfect platform for you to start a podcast today. Now, the podcast I'm doing right now with my friend Charles is on Stream Studio. Charles, how easy is Stream Studio?
it's the easiest thing you've ever shown me in my life.
Exactly. I sent him the link. He joined it like that. Bada bing, bada boom. We started a podcast. All you got to do is go on streamstudio.com and put your email and you'll get a code. Once you get that code, you could put that code in and bada bing, bada boom. You can start your own podcast today. Stream Studio is the perfect platform for you to use if you want to start a podcast. And I mean, it doesn't matter if you're an old lady, it doesn't matter if you're a small child, it doesn't matter if you're, you don't have a brain. I don't know if you're a fucking chimpanzee. It's easy. It's really easy. Honestly, if you ask me, I've never used something this easy to use. I tried doing podcasts before in the past. It was a headache because I had to turn on the camera. I had to turn on my Logic or whatever to record my audio. And it was just a pain because, I get recording off my microphone, but I wouldn't get any recording off my camera because it's hard to deal with something when it's not centralized. That's what Stream Studio does. They centralize everything and they make it easy for you to start a podcast. So go ahead, go on streamstudio.com and start your own podcast today. You can use the promo code Shayan Amiri to get a nice deal. So SHAYANAMIRI. That's SHAYANAMIRI. All right. Without further ado, let's read these new laws that are going to happen. So first one, which is I think fucked up, because imagine you're like an immigrant who just moved to Quebec, and like you're an old lady, or you're an old lady who's an immigrant, like your nana, for example. She didn't speak French. The doctors will be required to address all their patients in French.
I mean, yeah. Well, listen, Tankai, you might as well just read the whole thing because it's all
right. I want to, because I thought you were gonna be like, oh hell no,
Oh well, listen, I don't have to say it, but that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking French will be mandated in companies with more than 25 employees. The number of mandatory French CEGEP courses for Anglophone students will increase to 5. Nobody really gives a shit. I mean, yeah. And limitations on the number of students accepted in English-speaking schools will be set. That's pretty fucked. I mean, like imagine, you're working for an English company in Montreal, and then you can't send your kid to an English school. We went to an English school, but that's kind of
I mean, that's already happening. Like there's already a quota on the amount of kids that you can send to English school. Like Dawson had that, and it's a big problem. you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's really all this. It's really all this is. It's more of the um, same push that the conservative Quebecois government is really trying to impose. You know, because at
Mhm.
the end of the day, it's English versus French. I mean, we could all shy away from that, but it's kind of exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And right now, the French are in the government, and they want it all, man. They want it all.
They want it
And
all,
in
but that's not
October,
the least of it. It's fines. You could get $30,000 fines if your companies they have incidents that are repeated when they speak only in English or other languages, which is like, what are we gonna have, the French police that is gonna come to your house or your company or whatever, and they're gonna say, "Hey, I caught you saying hello," and then
yeah,
you're gonna $30,000. But the most
yeah,
fucked up to me is that the government will have the right to seize one's work phone to verify that they're communicating in French. Like, bitch, hands off my phone. You ain't touching that shit. Like, what is
yeah.
this? Nazi Germany?
No
You know what I mean?
way, no
This is
way. That is tyranny. But I think at the end of the day, it's all bullshit. I really do. I think at the end of the day, this is all because look, for those that don't know, in October, which is coming up fast, um, this guy, the leader of the Quebecois Conservative Party, is up for re-election,
what's his name?
and Francois Legault, and
There you go.
he's up for re-election, and he's trying to give his base everything they want, you know. This is exactly what they want. This is right up their alley. They want everything to be French, you know. So they read this and they're like, wait, c'est normal, you know. Like they 100% agree with this. They're like, fuck
Mhm.
yeah, keep going, give them more, you know.
Mhm.
So it's a political game. Is it going to go into effect? I kind of doubt it. I kind of doubt it. You know, we already have the language police here, which is fucked up. But we already do. They've already cracked down on cases. We all know the classic Italian case. The Italian restaurant that got fined and shut down actually because they wrote their menu in Italian and not in
Are you kidding me?
them. So yeah, they wrote pasta and it was supposed to be pulp. She's like, all right, buddy, why don't you go fuck yourself, okay?
Yeah.
Or something like that, like
Do
something
these
along those
people not have
lines.
better things to do than to go harass businesses? You know what
Well,
I
they
mean?
literally
At the end
don't.
of the
That's the
day,
thing. They literally
yeah.
don't. They have nothing better to do, right?
At the end
Like
of the day, it should be about like the
big joke.
service or the quality of the business. Like if this pasta is gonna make you shit your bed all night, then maybe then the fucking police should come in. But
I agree.
you know,
I
I
agree.
don't know what the hell a Poliev. What is it you said there, Poliev? Huh?
Well, yeah,
Or pasta?
yeah.
That's pasta.
No, no. Wait, what are you talking about? Pasta?
You said is a different word in French.
Oh, palt in
Paul.
French
I
is
don't know what the hell
pasta.
that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm
I
not an
don't
idiot.
know.
I speak a little bit of French, but still, pasta's pasta. You can't change that word.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah. So then you get into the big, the debate. What do you think? And the big issue with this is that the whole thing is subjective. The whole thing is subjective. There's nothing. If you evaluate this objectively, well, then it's clear we should be English, right? Because we're taking economic hits, right? We're forcing businesses away. People can't study here. Like, I don't see what reasons objectively, again, just objectively, I don't see what reasons you would have to keep Quebec French, other than I want to preserve the culture. I understand, but that's a
mhm.
matter of opinion, right? A lot of people think like, look, I'm third generation immigrant, so I didn't like just come here. I'm fully bilingual. I'm 70-30 on this issue. 70% of me believes, hey, uh, fuck the language police, fuck all that. We should just be English and they should get out of here. And then 30% of me says, you know what? Like, I understand where the Quebec people are coming from. I do. At the end of the day, I do. I get it. But the pros and cons, if you weigh them, to me, the benefits of keeping it French are nowhere near, the cost to society.
Mhm.
So to me, it's a no go. To me, it's a no go.
Well, I think
You know?
we'll always, it's almost like what it feels like to me is like Austin, Texas is like the only blue part in whole all of Texas. And Austin, Texas is what Montreal is like to Quebec. You know, we're the only English kind of area. I mean, obviously there's places like Chateauguay where there's a mix, and then you have Gatineau, whatever it is. But the fact that they want to, it's like I feel like at this point it's like, okay, Quebec, all around Quebec, they should have their own laws, and Montreal should have their own laws. You know what I mean? It should be like
Yeah.
up to the city of Montreal to impose these laws, not Francois Legault to come in and say, okay, Montreal, you have to do all these things. Because the reality is, obviously, there's a lot of French people in Montreal, but you also got a lot of different language speaking people there too. So you really want to go that route, or just playing with the idea, and it's like, it's up yours, man. Like you guys aren't going to be as profitable economically if you guys want to go down this route, this political route. And I
Yeah.
thought you're a businessman, Mr. Legault.
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
Well, he is, and his business is keeping his voters, and what his voters want is French. That's all it is. It's the same reason he's giving us all $500. We don't need it.
Mm,
He was bitching. The government was bitching about inflation. What do you think that's doing? It's inflating.
mhm.
Makes no sense. But he wants his voters, and he's willing to take the hit and have everyone suffer. Like, it's fine. Because he's gonna gain. He'll stay in
Yeah,
power. So it's all a big Leahy show.
it's all a big Leahy show. I mean, speaking of inflation, um, today there is an article up on the Financial Post. Honestly, I just started reading Financial Post.
Yep.
It's Canadian. It's nice and clean. There's no outrageous. I have like my New York Post for my like bombastic articles that I want to like just throw out there. Outrageous stories. But
Right.
since you're Canadian, I'm Canadian. Let's stick to the subject of just Canadian stuff. Canada's average home price slides to $746,000. Sales plummet amid rising rates. So sales
Yeah.
fell across 80% of local markets. And when you look, it says that home prices across Canada appear to be slipping under the weight of rising interest rates, with the
Mm.
nationwide average home price falling to $746,000 in April, down 6.3% from March's average of $796,000, according to the data from Canadian Real Estate Association. And then it goes on to say sales volumes dropped, falling 12.6% month over month and 25% since a record April last year. While the decline was largely led by the Greater Toronto Area market, sales fell across 80% of local markets. So it seems like inflation is having an effect on people buying houses. Maybe people are getting tired of buying houses, or they're just realizing the rent is too damn high. They don't want to pay that much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, man. Here's the reality, right? Rising interest rates, lower home prices. That's just math, right? And
Mhm.
that's the same for everything, right? Like, look at what's happening with the stock market. As you increase interest rates, the price of equities fall, right? They have an opposite direction, right? And the same is true the other way. And the same thing for bonds, and the same thing for stocks, right? And the reason for that is because your interest rate is your cost to borrow. Whoa, let me just fell. Your interest rate is your cost to borrow, okay? And what happened in 2020 is when everyone was locked down, okay, their homes and nobody went to work and everything was shut down, recession. We deserved it. And instead of going through it, our government said, hey, it's fine. We'll print our way out of it. We're going to give everyone a bunch of money. And that way they'll buy, they'll stimulate the economy, and we'll be fine. And we'll deal with the inflation later. Well, now is later, okay? And here we are.
Mhm.
And it's time to pay the piper. And the piper is in the United States, 8.3% inflation this year, which is the highest,
Wow.
probably at least for the last 40 years. Maybe in the 80s it was higher, but I don't even think so. And here in Canada, 6.3, which again is astronomically high. To give everyone an idea, of those of you who don't know, it
Mhm.
should be 2%. It should always be 2%. That's the government That's the central bank's role, is to keep it at 2%. They failed miserably, obviously. And so here we are. Now we got a cool demand, right? Everyone wants so much of everything. Look at the price of everything. Everything is exploded in price. You name me anything, it's fucking too expensive now. Okay, and the reason for that is because everyone has because the cost to borrow is low. Everyone got stimulus checks. What bought real estate? In real estate, inflation to home buyers, and the reason for that is people who benefit from inflation are debt holders. Okay, borrowed $800,000, and this year, inflation is 8%. Well, you still owe that same amount, but it's now worth less, right? That cost is come down. You make the same payments, but your payments are worth less, right? Inflation is 2%.
6%.
6%. Interest rates are 2%. You have 4%. So the reason everyone flocked to real estate was really because it was a safe haven, because it was so cheap, right? It became so cheap to own real estate. It became, everyone knew inflation was coming, and sure enough, it did. And here we are. And now we have a situation where everyone is over leveraged. We've taken on too much debt. And we're completely out of touch with reality in terms of valuation, right? Because there's a value of a home, and it depends on the median income, or if it's a rental property, it depends on how much money it actually brings in. It's completely detached from reality. People don't care anymore. And they went ahead and bought up everything.
I mean, just the other day, so my sister's boyfriend, he's an engineer. He works for an engineering consulting company, and a lot of the times what he does is like they look at the different units in the condos, and they have to make repairs. And then these condo association, the owners of the condo, they say like, we can't pay all this money or whatever, so they have to charge the tenants who live there. So the tenants have to pay that, but a lot of the times when you look at the value of those specific units, it's way above market, above the price that they scanned it. I don't know who. I think it's the government says it's supposed to be this price, but the market is like 700. So let's say it's a $500,000 unit. Then it's on the market. It's gonna be $700,000, but it doesn't stop there. People are bidding for that unit, and it's going to go up and up and up. And so by the time you buy that unit at $800,000 or whatever it is, I mean, these numbers are obviously, they're make believe. You have to think like, when I sell this, am I going to take an L, or am I going to make a profit? Because does it reflect reality? Like you're saying, does it reflect how much it's supposed to be worth?
Yeah, you're right. Big issue. We do have a supply shortage in Canada. We builders, and Pierre Poilievre, he's running for Conservative leader. That's a big issue that he's really trying to touch on, trying to encourage more home building. Right now, we're all competing for the same homes. There's too much demand. There's not enough supply. So that's another.
So they need to build new homes.
Exactly. It's a basket of problems. And I'm hoping that it resolves itself.
We got the debates going on for the Conservative Party leadership, where we have different characters. We have Jean Charest, who's infamous. He's known for being in Canadian politics for a very long time. I mean, he started from a very young age, 24 years old, within Quebec's politics, but he eventually rose up the ranks. He switched from liberal to conservative, and I mean, it seems to be like those two guys are the front runners in this race. And they seem to be, Pierre and Charest seem to be going back and forth at each other there. Charest is accusing Pierre for supporting a terrorist organization, the Truckers Convoy. He's saying this was an act of terrorism or whatever. It was an illegal blockade. What do you think of that? What do you think of this whole name calling? Because Pierre has this thing about Huawei, because Jean Charest, Charest, is it Charest or Charest?
Charest, yeah.
Charest. Jean Charest was, after he was out of politics, he was consulting Huawei while they had two people in China, the Canadians, that were being held there. I don't want to say as prisoners, I guess you could say. And he was, trying to show them what to do. Like he's consulting for them, Huawei, which is a Chinese state, ran organization. So it's almost like, are we going to let this guy who's, has CCP money be the new leader of, the country? Or are we going to let this clean slate, sharp spoken Ben Shapiro looking motherfucker, win this? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll just go ahead and say it. I'm Team Pierre, all the way. I loved the guy before he announced his candidacy. I love him now. I think he's sharp. He knows what he's talking about. A lot of people compare him to Trump. I think that's just ignorant. Doesn't really make sense. I don't see any connection, frankly, other than the fact that he speaks out openly about, mainstream media or disinformation, things like that. I could see that. Other than that, like, I don't think he's a candidate.
No.
In terms of, first of all, did you have a chance to watch the debate on last week or no?
I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched the highlights, and I know abortion was an issue. There's a couple.
Yeah.
Like there's that lady who's like, Pierre doesn't actually go support a pro-life movement, and I'm like, bro, this is fucking Canada. Like, we don't. This issue should not. You know what I mean? And
well,
Pierre,
so it's not.
Yeah, Pierre said, because a lot of people, like my girlfriend, they're saying like, oh, like the Canadian conservatives, they might like want to stop abortion. I'm like, no, that's not true.
Literally
Pierre
not true.
It's not true. So we're letting this fucking bullshit from the United States slide into our place. And I'm upset at the United States too, because I do like some of the policies from the other side, but it's like when they come out with this backwards, medieval ages thing of like, you cannot get abortion. Like, it's like, bro, what are we in fucking, in Islam here? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's a big problem. But I think in terms of politics, like, we always hear about this when it's election time, whether it's federal or provincial, or not a provincial, or just like like for a party, like it is now.
Yeah.
You always hear about issues like abortion. They're kind of non-issues, because just like you said, we're never gonna. I believe firmly, we're never gonna abortion.
No, definitely not.
No, you can't anymore. We're not gonna do that. You'd shoot yourself in the foot as a conservative leader, right? Nobody's gonna look at you like everyone will hate you. This is not what you want. So that's over. The only issue they're still bringing it up is because, first of all, everyone is rallying against Pierre because he's ahead in the polls, like uncomparable. Okay, even Shayan. I think he has like double the votes that Shayan does right now. So everyone's going in on Pierre. And the reason they really tackled the abortion issue is because prior to the debate, he hadn't really made his stance clear. He didn't really say if he was pro-life or pro-choice. Obviously, at the debate, he said, I'm pro-choice, once and for all, flat out, like, and then everyone was like, okay, well, thank you. And then, like, you could tell, like, they were expecting him to say, like, something vague. But he was like, no, I'm pro-choice. You go ahead, it's fine. And that kind of just shut everything up, and so then it's like it's on to real business, on to real business, So yeah.
I think it's just noise, It shouldn't be even in our conversation in Canadian politics, because it's like we have so much shit that's on the line here for this generation. A lot of people talk about the boomers, how it was, they had a hard time. And obviously, because they were just starting out their lives, but the land was theirs to pillage, They could buy up as much as they want. But now it's like us, how are we going to afford anything within Canada? I mean, personally, I don't see a future right now at the moment in Canada. I think the best way to, start out your life is somewhere like in the US, where you can actually afford a house, and the property taxes. Not everyone in the US, but it's just it's tough unless you're living in your mom's basement. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know.
I mean, it's a huge issue. That's really what he's running on, housing. Housing is a giant problem. We're gonna have to get through it. It's gonna take a few years, frankly, but I see the market correcting itself. And I'm hoping it does, because, like, exactly, in the next few years, I'm hoping pick up. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what
So
happens.
you said that with higher interest rates, the cost of land goes down, right?
The values come down, yes, and that's
The
because
value.
there's less demand. Yeah, there's
So you're saying it's going to get better. You're just.
yeah.
I'm just
I
saying
think it
it's
will
like
get better.
okay. So
Yeah.
that article I read, the Canada's home, the prices going down. You think we're going to start to see that more and more picking up, right?
Look, I think so. I'm no expert by any stretch, right? But I think so. The fact is, and this is just math, right? Like if you think 2 + 2 is 4, then housing price interest rates go up. That's just what it is. Because right now the reason and they're increasing fast. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Like they're going up fast. The central bank is not holding back, right? Like as the interest rates keep going up, more and more people get priced. All of a sudden that $800,000 house that they had at 2%, now they need 5% interest, and then 6% interest, and then 7% interest. And also they've been paying attention to inflation, to how expensive the cost of living is now. And so now they're also going to have to factor in, well, hold on, can I really afford to take on a mortgage right now of $800,000 with higher and higher interest payments while the cost of living is going up? Probably not, probably not. During the pandemic was a completely different story. Inflation wasn't a big issue. Everyone had money coming in. So there's, in finance or in economics, you call it the income effect, right? Like everyone has the perceived psychology of having more money because they're getting more and more money, right? Everyone felt rich, I guess, for lack of, everyone felt rich, right? That's like the income effect. And so for cheap, they could buy anything, whether that was cars or houses. And if, like I said, prices weren't yet that bad. And then here we are. Cost of living has skyrocketed. The cost of buying cars. I mean, my girlfriend works in car financing. It's going up and up and with no end in sight. There's also shortages, which are still persisting. That has increased the price of everything. The war in Ukraine hasn't stopped. Look, we're paying $2.20 a gas, and it's absolutely ridiculous. It's not sustainable. And so right now, are you really going to say, yeah, honey, let's go buy an $800,000 house, which 2 years ago was selling for $400,000, and let's pay, 3, 4, 5, 6% above what was just being asked? Probably not. Probably not. And demand, right? Supply and demand. As demand cools down, your price comes down. So that's just what it is. And happening in the stock market. The thing with the stock market, the reason it's happening first is because of liquidity, right? Stocks are a lot more liquid than homes. What do you think you could sell faster, a stock or a home? I mean, a stock without question. You go on your phone, you click sell, and then you're done. Some of these people sooner or later are going to realize they have too much debt. They can't afford all these payments that they're making. The cost of everything is going up, and once their fixed term, their interest rate term, which is usually maybe 10 years, is up, they'll be screwed and they'll default, and the bank is going to and it's going to go back on, and someone will buy it. There'll still be a strong market, but it'll be nowhere near as hot as it is now. So it's just a matter of time, in my opinion.
So wait, I mean, just because I'm not as finance whiz as you are, so you're saying like when someone agrees to buy a home for a 10-year mortgage at a specific interest rate, after that term is up and they didn't pay the full amount or whatever, or if there's like still costs to pay, it's going to adjust to today's interest rate?
So when you buy a home, right, they'll say, okay, I'll give you 5%, a 5-year term. Okay, there's a term and a period, right? Like the amortization period is like, oh, I'm going to buy a house and I'm going to pay years. All right, like obviously that's the standard in Canada. But your interest rate, right? The interest rate that you signed with the bank is not fixed for those 25 years. If it is, I mean, very, very rare. Okay, it's fixed for your term, right? Which is usually 5 to 10, maybe 15 years, but usually 5 to 10 years. Okay, And for most of these buyers, all of these big expensive homes that are going on for sale now, that term is super low. It's near zero, which means they literally went to the bank and said, hey, I want to buy a $200,000. It's going to cost 1%. Like, no problem. I can give that to you right now, But when that becomes 5%, 10%, now you're paying out more. You're paying out, think of it as rent. Your monthly payments are getting more and more expensive after your term is up. And just like living is also going, and your income stays the same. For most Canadians, sadly, stays the same. And it underperforms inflation, especially at 6.2%. You think a lot of people got 6.2% raises this year? I don't fucking think so. Like, no. So that's the reality. That's the reality. And it's sad because working people in Canada and in the States, all this is true, in the States. Maybe not as, but still true. They're the ones that are going to suffer, Rich people, they'll be fine. They can afford their payments. They've thought ahead, right? They have financial literacy. They know what they're getting into.
Yeah,
so
I mean, everyone wants to buy a home and have a family.
Yeah.
And for those millennials that are just buying it now, it's tough, right? Because they're gonna get fucked in the ass once the term is up.
True.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how do you think voting for a politician is going to solve this? How do you think Pierre Poilievre is going to have the answer? What do you think he's going to do specifically to make it more possible? And also, before we get into that, I want to ask you, do you think this is a good opportunity for us to come in and buy? Because I'm bitching about, I want to go to US because everything's too expensive. Do you think it's going to be a long time before everything falls to a reasonable price or even cheaper than a reasonable price? Are we going to see a moment for us to the land is ours to pillage now,
Yeah.
That's a lot of questions there.
No. And they're very good ones, man. And that's the golden question. And even at the bank, that's what everyone's asking themselves, right? You have IAs investment advisors that are wondering the exact same thing. The reality is, and it's kind of the boring answer, is that no one knows, man. No one knows. It's hard to time the market. But if you look at the math, and math is often right, it's often right. If you look at the math, then yes. And yes, give us a buying opportunity, provided you plan ahead, right? Like, look, there should be no problems here, right? Ideally, in a perfect market, there should be no problems here. We should all go ahead and assume that everyone that's bought these houses over the last 2 years has done their due diligence, right? They've planned ahead for inflation. They knew that prices were going to go up and that inflation was going to be bad, go to $3. They should already know this, and they'll be fine, and they've covered for it. In reality, people aren't that smart. Maybe, again, people who are financially literate, corporations are. Majority aren't. That's who's going to suffer.
Well, I mean, people aren't that smart, but people know when they're getting fucked. And I mean, that's kind of what happened with the truckers. That was more about vaccines and stuff. And I think we're at a point where, where your everyday worker, he's going to realize everything's too expensive. It's impossible to live. And, people are going to go on the streets. They're going to start protesting whatever government it is, because they're going to say, we can't afford to do anything anymore. I can't afford, I have a kid, I have a family I have to feed. And I mean, like you said, I'm not getting a raise at work, so eventually they're going to have to blame it on somebody. And I know that the government might want to push for more reliance on them, where the government is going to be a cushion and they're going to give you money and all that stuff. But I think we've seen that already this year, and people know that that's not a long-term solution, because you're going to even get more, poor and unable to pay, So
Exactly.
I don't know. Hopefully we could be optimistic and think that if the government, goes that route, because I know there's a lot of these agendas, and we've talked about conspiracy theories a lot, we're not going to get too into them, But I think people are waking up, and they're gonna put a foot down on whatever it is for the society that they want, a rent society where you have to rent for the rest of your life, everything. And hopefully we see that becoming a trend.
The 100% agree with you. The problem is to really get that done, and this goes back to the original question: why am I voting for Pierre? Why do I think conservative government would be better at this point in time? Is because the only way, look, we deserve to be in recession in 2020. We was laid out. No one was going anywhere. No one was spending, right? Like it was no one's fault. It was unfortunate, and that was the recession we needed. Instead, we printed our way out of it, and here we are. And now we're dealing with crazy inflation, and it's out of control. Everything's out of control. So how are we going? You're right? We can't go the route of, hey, let the government just bail us out for money, give everyone money, everything will be fine. We can't go that route because, just like you said, yourselves in more and more debt. It's not really going to solve anything. It'll give you short-term solutions and long-term. So what's ripping off the Band-Aid? And that's number 2. Hike up interest rates, jack them up all the way. Give it to me, baby. We need it all, bro. And that's just the reality. We need to kill demand. There's too much demand for products, for homes, for cars. There's too much. And with that is going to come, more than likely, unemployment. People are going to lose their jobs, right? And then we're going to enter a recession. And it's hard. Those are hard times. Because, again, who's going to suffer the most? Working Canadians, right? Like, they're going to lose their jobs. And we're all going to be on unemployment. And it's going to suck. But it's only going to suck for a few years. Again, in the short term, you're creating one way, you're creating short-term solutions and long-term problems, and the other way, you're creating short-term problems but long-term solutions. And they're mirrors of each other, right? Which would you rather have? Like, look, either way, you're going to suffer, But I would rather go through it. All right, like, frankly, we deserved it. I say we as if we all collectively did something. We didn't. It's just that, like, an economy,
these policies,
workers,
these policies,
exactly.
Yeah,
it's just it's what happened. It's unfortunate, but for the time being, that's where we're at, and that's what we got to do. And I think when it comes time, conservatives are your best bet.
I agree.
Which conservative is your best bet? Pierre, because Pierre seems like he's the one that's going to deal with the tough reality.
Well, I mean, this isn't. Yeah, I mean, I'm not very. I don't try to be too political or express my opinions on this podcast of who I'm voting for or whatever. It's just at this moment in time, like, we see there's a coalition with the NDP and the Liberal Party, and I mean, obviously there's things that we want to tackle, such as the environment and social issues. But we're at a point in time, it's like we have to be able to think of our housing, where we're going to live, and how we're going to eat, and how we're going to get that money. Those are the 3 things we have to focus on right now. And I mean, unfortunately, those other issues, when people are hungry, those people need to be comfortable enough to think about those issues. And we're at a point where we're not comfortable enough. And, it's food shortages are real, and they're coming. And, I mean, obviously we're not going to get hit as bad as third world countries, but a lot of people in third world countries, they're not going to be able to survive this because, who's going to get all the food? It's going to be us, the first world country where we have the means to get that. But in places like, Yemen or, these countries that have been impoverished, a lot of people, unfortunately, are going to die, and it's sad. It's sad. I mean, and like you said, the short-term solution of, the short-term stretch where we're going to have to suffer is worth it if it's going to be a long-term, living in this, we're digging ourselves in a deeper hole because we're getting assistance from the government. But anyways, if you want to have conversations like this, if you want to have more, you want to get your voice heard, opinions matter, then I think you should start a podcast. And how should you start a podcast? Using Stream Studio. Charles, how fun has this been right now?
It's been a blast. Big shout out to Stream, everyone from there, everyone that works there, especially the Quebecois guys. Yeah.
Yeah, Stream is amazing. I mean, like, how easy was it to just get the thing rolling? And I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen it. People talk about FaceTime. Oh, it's great. I see my grandchildren after all this time. But forget FaceTime. Go on Stream. Make your interactions public. People care about those things, right? Charles is in awe. He's just frozen in awe. But anyways, to sum it up, Stream Studio is amazing. It's great. You go on streamstudio.com, you put in your email, you get a code from your email, you put that code in, bada bing, bada boom, you can start your own podcast like that. It's easy. Do it right now. Do it right now. You could do it right while you're listening to this podcast. You could talk about what you think about this podcast. Yeah, Shayan's a fucking asshole. He's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Exactly. Do it. Do it on streamstudio.com. Streamstudio.com. Use the promo code Shayan Amiri, SHAYANAMIRI today to get yourself a sweet deal. But awesome. I mean, it's been an hour. I mean, we could keep it going. There's other issues, but let's move. There's a couple other things. So we covered the conservative election that's going on. You've stated that you like Pierre. We covered the housing market a little bit right now. I mean, there are other issues. I mean, we're not going to talk about Amber Heard and stuff, but so what? An interesting story that I think that you might find interesting too is obviously there's two billionaires you love. There's Elon Musk, and then there's Jeff Bezos. I don't know if you like Jeff Bezos, but today we know that Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post, right? And Washington Post infamously changed their slogan to "Democracy dies in darkness" when Trump got elected. So obviously we know they're left leaning.
I didn't know that.
But Washington,
okay.
Yeah, Washington Post has like op-eds. Actually, today they had an op-ed that said we should change the name of George Washington University. But it's like, bro, Washington Post, you fucking idiots, you know? Like, fuck.
That's so funny.
You know what? Are we gonna change Washington next? The state? You know, I mean, it's crazy. It's fucking everything. Change it. But so today, I mean, everyone, you know, Jeff Bezos he's not very like his vocal on Twitter or anything like that, but he is pretty out there when it comes to him partying and his, you know, like his wife.
Yeah,
and, you know, he's flashy. He looks like Thanos out there. He's jacked, you know.
Jacked, man.
The first years of his life, man.
He's too big, man. I'm convinced he's on steroids or something.
Dude, he's on roids for sure. He's on TRT. 100%. Yeah, bro. Yeah. And not just that, but like, you know, when he was a little guy, a scrawny guy just starting Amazon, and he talked like this, and you know, he always had the same laugh though. Yeah.
Yeah.
His laugh.
He has that weird laugh.
You know, his laugh. But anyways, so this guy, Jeff Bezos, very surprisingly, has sparred with Joe Biden on Twitter about inflation. So
I saw.
Yeah. So Joe Biden says, "You want to bring down inflation? Let's make that the wealthiest, you know, the thing. Let's make the wealthiest corporations pay their fair share." Hairy legs. And then Jeff Bezos replied, "The newly created disinformation board should review this tweet, or maybe they need to form a new non-sequitur board instead. Raising corp taxes is fine to discuss. Taming inflation is critical to discuss. Mushing them together is just misdirection." So, I mean, what's your take on this, Charles?
I 100% agree with him. There's no correlation there at all. Biden's trying to put off inflation as you know, being caused by the rich not paying their taxes. I mean, that's so not true. It's complete nonsense. It's laughable. That's like a fucking joke, you know. And obviously Biden didn't write that because God knows that old fuck can't handle a computer, you know. So whoever the hell wrote that is really, you know, on his meds, okay? Because that's ridiculous. So I'm with Bezos on that one. I don't love Bezos, you know.
Why don't you love
Frankly,
him?
I believe in being humble, and he's not that guy, pal. He's not that guy. You can give back a lot of money, and just in general, you just give back a lot in people's lives, and he chose no. Instead, he's gonna just live it up, and that's fine. I don't mean to take away. I know he's obviously a philanthropist and gives away a lot of money, but in general, he's not really that guy,
Well,
and he doesn't really
what?
want to be that guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what I don't like. I mean, listen, I don't care what he does with his money. He could have a million gumas
Yeah.
for all I care.
Oh, I agree,
uh,
100%.
but I
Yeah,
think
go
that
ahead.
hopping on the political, yeah, playing hopscotch there is a little like, come on, Jeff. Like you run the Washington Post. You're fucking. You guys do a lot of misinformation and disinformation like on a daily. Who the hell are you to judge? You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
I don't
But
know.
it's entirely possible that he owns the Washington Post as an investment, right? Like a business, rather than to spread his own narrative. In fact,
Yeah,
I
but
don't think
as the
that they spread his
largest
narrative at
shareholder,
all.
he should be able to kind of like steer the direction of what his newspaper does. And I get it; it's popular to be liberal, like Google, like all these different guys. You know what I mean? But at the same time,
That's what's
he
making
wants
him
to be
money.
so. He's
That's
making
literally what's
money.
making him money.
Do you think people
It's
actually
like me
read these
saying,
articles?
well, I don't, so I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
assuming
you
they
don't.
do
I
by the
don't.
fact
I
that
don't
it's
think anyone we know does, and maybe that's just one demographic, but even like someone who's super liberal, you think they're going to read the Washington Post? Like here's why black men are racist. That's the next article that they have.
Yeah, it's definitely like a stretch, and it's all of media has kind of become like clickbait,
Yeah,
and it's kind of sad. It's sad that we can't live in a society
so
with
sad.
just authentic news. It
Fake
doesn't exist
news.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a
So
kind of result of Trump and everyone
yeah,
ganging
kind
up
of,
on
right?
him, and
That's kind of true. That's
yeah.
kind of true.
It's like
Well, the
Trump
media
was
loved Trump, man. They
yeah.
hated him. They hated him in their pieces, but they loved him for their profits.
When Trump was elected, it was like fucking I don't know what's a day for the stock market that everything went up and went crazy. I don't know.
2008, 1999, right now.
No, went up, not down.
Oh, went up. Sorry. Okay. 2020, 2021, last
Anyways,
year.
fucking Trump getting elected was like fucking the equivalent to the stock market booming, for the
Yeah.
media. But now it's like the opposite. It's CNN tried to do CNN Plus that went down the
Ooh, that
shitter.
was just embarrassing. That was
Yeah,
just
and
embarrassing, man.
Trump was laughing it all the way to the bank. He's like,
Yeah, for
CNN
sure.
has once again failed
Yeah,
to.
but you know what, man? Yeah, but you know what, man? What about Truth Social? Okay. What about that? Isn't
Hey,
that
they
his
were the top.
equivalent of CNN
Elon
Plus?
Musk said that they were the number one app on the App Store when he bought Twitter. And I'm like, okay, Elon,
All
like,
right,
thanks
well,
for letting
okay,
us
but
know.
like, yeah, but that was like, it doesn't really mean much. That just means that day it was the most looked one, and you know why it was?
Downloaded.
Because it
Why?
was the first time that he had posted on it. It was that day,
Really?
and he
Really?
made a post. I don't even know what he posted, but yeah, for the first time he
Retarded.
posted. So everyone obviously flocked to go see what it was, and then they did. But that's all hype. Like that's gonna die down, and it already has. So
So what's going
yeah.
on with Elon? Is he buying Twitter or is he not? Like, this is kind of getting annoying.
Yeah, well, I kind of get it, man. I mean, like, look, he's on the fence from what I understand.
Because I
He's on
thought
the
he
fence
bought
about
it. You
buying.
told me 2 weeks ago he bought Twitter. I went
Yeah,
on my podcast. I announced Elon bought Twitter. Everybody, I did a reel. People loved it, but now I feel like I'm disinformation. you
well,
know,
no, you're not disinformation. Basically, he went back and he found out that, look, originally the board had claimed that of all the users in Twitter, okay, of everyone, they claimed 5% of them were bots, okay, just 5%. Which Elon said, okay, that's no problem. Like, it's fine. Obviously, you don't want bots because that's less real people. Less real people means less revenue. Like that impacts the value of the company, right? Like if the whole company is made up of fake bots, like, dude, the app is fucking worthless. You know. So if you're telling me it's 5%, like I'm gonna give you an offer, assuming it's 5%. what happened is that with time, I guess someone must have like, maybe he looked into it on his own, or someone kind of alluded to the fact that, hey, like, there's no way, like, there's only 5% of Twitter that's bots. Like, it's way more than that, which is kind of true. Like, there's a lot of just spam bots and like fake accounts, and so basically Elon was like, look, I need proof. I need proof that it's 5%, and until then, I'm holding off buying because then it's right. It's literally not worth telling fake news. So that's what's going on now. So we're waiting to hear back and to see what happens. He still has plans to buy it, but he just
Why
wants
doesn't
to
he just buy
confirm,
his own Twitter? Why doesn't he just start his own Twitter?
That's a big job, man. I mean, look at Trump. You know,
Yeah, but Trump's
the reason,
dude. Trump. Okay, listen. Trump compared to Elon, Elon is like a savior to a lot of engineers and people who are smart. People like listen to Lex Friedman and Elon. They see him as like a hero. You know what I mean? Trump's demographic, on the other hand, you know, they're not the brightest of the bunch. You know,
right.
you know, they're
That's
mainly
true.
aging
That's definitely
boomers.
true.
And I mean, maybe some. I mean, look, Trump's very popular, right? And I'm not denying that, but I'm just saying like I feel like engineers or whatever, they don't really care too much about politics or whatever. Like
No,
people who
they
are
care about
building this,
progress.
they care about creating new things. Trump is very like he's got his direction. He's you know, I don't like the way this is going. You know, but Elon Musk is more like, I want to do things. I want to do opportunities. You know, I see a bright future. You know, it's a different tone. You know,
he's always like quiet. You know, he takes like 2 minutes to answer a yes or no question.
Yeah,
you know?
And have you seen the way he like dances? He's like, actually, that's like Trump too.
Actually, that's like Trump. Actually, yeah. As we were doing it, I was
Trump is more like,
wait a minute.
Elon Musk is like more like,
he does his finger guns. You know.
Yeah.
He points too.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing if him, Joe Rogan, all these guys, they started their own media company, you know?
Well, I'm sure Joe Rogan is going to be like a huge supporter. I haven't really been listening to his podcast or anything. I'm sure
neither have I. No.
Super supportive of it.
Yeah.
I think just the reason he isn't building his own platform, like you're saying, really just comes down to cost. There's also probably like legal issues behind, you know, because like, look, he's been using Twitter for a long time. He obviously sees some potential in the platform, right? You can't just go out and just copy Twitter. You know, a lot of the algorithms and a lot of its IP is proprietary, right? Like you own it, right? There's a lot of copyright and then you'd have to go through all of this and then branding and logo and marketing. Like it's a big job.
The thing I don't get about that is like how does that work if fucking meanwhile everyone's copying TikTok?
I don't know. That's a good question. But it's not. They're not exactly copying TikTok, right? Like
they are though. The reels going up. You know, algorithms showing you what you want to see. You know, I get like a bunch of shit about, you know, just because I posted videos on Amber Heard and stuff. Now it's like Amber Heard joining every reel I get. You know.
Oh my God.
On TikTok,
really?
I mean. Anyways, it's a lot to. I think it is hard to. It's easier said than done to start a social media company. But my view is rather than buy something that's so polluted and like, you know, there's so much shit there, why not just have a clean slate? And you know, because Twitter doesn't have the nicest reputation as like, you know, it's a lot of bum. It's kind of bum ass a little bit, but it's also a place for. It's a town hall. You know, it's somewhere where people could share their opinions on issues and in a way where, you know, to a wide access of people. So yeah,
it's kind of like an open discourse, right? Like it encourages free speech. And I think that, you know, at the end of the day, he's not buying this for the profitability. I mean, the business is a complete disaster, you know? It's a disaster. It's been a disaster, you know?
Yeah, it's not worth as much as he's paying for it either.
No way. And so exactly. And so imagine putting out this huge offer and then finding out that, dude, like it's more than 5% bots. Like already I'm paying you this huge premium. Fuck you. Like I'm not paying you this. So that's the issue going around now, you know.
But they didn't want to sell either.
they didn't want to sell, but they probably got a lot of pressure, because shareholders are pretty happy with 52.40? No, 54.20 because it's 420. Fucking guy.
Really?
Yeah. he's such a meme. But anyway, yeah, everyone was pretty happy with it. The other thing is, like, because he's so popular on Twitter, right? Everything he says gets viewed and the public sees it, and he's speaking out against Twitter. It's just more and more bad news on Twitter. And if they came out and said, no, we don't want to, just shit on them, and then everyone would have just canceled Twitter, and they would have lost there too. He kind of played it perfectly, He played it perfectly. He kind of said, like, look, I'm gonna buy your company at a huge profit. Your shareholders are gonna be happy. Frankly, they're also happy, like the board is also happy. It's a fantastic deal. And obviously they, maybe they see more potential in the company and they're not willing to sell, but at the end of the day, shareholders are what matter, even if you're the CEO, nobody gives a fuck. Everyone wants to sell like you're out,
Yeah. And Twitter right now isn't on NASDAQ, is it? It's not like on the stock market right now, right?
I think it, well, it's definitely traded on the here. Let me.
Yeah. Is it private or not? Because if he owns it.
Oh, no, it's still public. It's still public.
It's still public. Yeah.
For the time being, it's still public.
So
is it part of the NASDAQ? It is part of the NASDAQ as well. Yeah.
So it was at an all-time. Was it at an all-time high? Let me see. Yeah, I think it was at an all-time high. No, not really. After Elon Musk, I mean, it went up, but
yeah. Nowhere near all-time high.
But it's I see that Twitter stock has lost all of its gains since Elon Musk disclosed his stake.
Yeah.
So, what is disclosed his stake? What is like
Like just announced it basically. Disclosing is like saying like, oh, I own a stake in Twitter. Like
so people sold it off. So people sold it off after he said that.
Well, no, people bought it after he said that. That's why it went up.
But it says it's lost all of its gain. Oh, okay. Yeah. Basically, yeah, I'm stupid. It just means like it's lost all of it since he announced it. Like it went up and then now it's like it's kind of lost steam a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so for all of you out there, this is not financial advice, but take it for what you want. Twitter right now is trading at what? TWTR is trading for $37.39. Okay.
Yeah.
$37.39. Okay. The reason it's trading at such a low price, and Elon, okay, let's all remember, agreed to pay $54.20. Okay. That's a premium of like what? 45%. That's like a 45% move. Okay. The reason it's trading so low is because that is the market is basically pricing in Elon not buying Twitter. And if you want to go out and bet that he will buy Twitter and that he will buy it for the same price, like, look, he might come back and say, actually, there's more bots. I'm going to pay you $50 a share. I'm not paying you 54. Well, you'd still make the difference, right? And which is a pretty sizable return, especially in the market that we're in, right? You make 40%, like, dude, you're chilling. So if anyone out there is willing to, really believes in it and follows his tweets and wants to make a little bet, well, there you go. Don't go buy a lottery ticket. Bet on Elon.
So so you mean buy the stock is what you're saying?
If you believe he's gonna buy the company, yes, buy the stock. You literally make the difference. You make the difference. Elon will come and buy the share right now.
If he buys the stock, it's gonna go at $54.20.
Yeah, provided he agrees to that price still. But yeah.
Well, I don't know. He's been flaky. He's been flaky a little bit on crypto, and he's manipulated some stocks. I'm not like against. I'm not shitting on him. I'm just saying like he's kind of fucked some people. It's not his fault that he's fucked it.
No,
it's like people who listened to what he said. They got fucked over. It's almost like the Alex Jones argument when he said Sandy Hooks was a hoax. People went out and harassed those people. It's like,
Yeah,
I don't know. It's kind of a shitty analogy, but whatever.
No, I get what you're saying though. I get
Yeah. Anyways, all right. Well, I think this has been a good conversation. I think we've said enough. We've covered some good different things. It was nice talking to you, Charles.
Yeah, it was great talking to you, Shayan. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm happy to, this is actually the first time we talked 3 weeks or something, or a month
Yeah.
almost on the phone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a
Yeah.
while. Yeah.
Yeah. Because usually when
Yeah.
I'm, in Toronto, even I'll call you like maybe like 3 times a week or something. Just, I don't know, catching up, but
You've been
I've been
out traveling.
traveling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you more about it in person. Just, I've told the
Okay.
podcast is enough about me on the road and stuff, but
That
it's
makes
been
sense.
pretty good. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm excited to see you. I'm happy. I hope you
Yeah.
guys enjoyed and learned 1 or 2 things from Charles. Smart guy, and yeah,
That's right. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Shayan. I really, really appreciate it, and we'll have to do it again. Just have to let me know.
we for sure, man. We'll get Liam in there here too. We'll have a 3-way.
Yay, that'd be fun.
Yeah,
that'd be
yeah,
fun.
yeah. We're talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
doing a podcast together. I don't know if it's gonna be through this or what, but I think
Yeah.
me and Liam we're gonna try to get something going.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
It could be the Three Musketeers. That could be the name of the show. We'll do it
Yeah,
every.
man. That'd be
Yeah, it would
great.
be fun. It would be fun.
Yeah. Have a couple of drinks, just sit around and talk about things.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
count me in, man. Yeah. That'd be
I'm
fun.
excited for everyone to be together in the summer, like just to come to
Yeah.
Montreal. I don't know when, because obviously work and stuff, but
Yeah.
it's gonna.
Sure,
Yeah,
you had plans, but to come down, but man.
yeah. All right. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for listening to the Shayan Show.